Okay, we've got just a few more people coming in. Please be sure to fill out an evaluation of the session. If you love Cortana as much as we do, be sure to do it. If you're not so much excited about Cortana, grab a cup of coffee, take a quick walk, plenty of time. Yep. All right. So today we're going to talk about Cortana extensibility. I'm going to open by saying thank you. It's extraordinarily hard to compete with a beautiful sunny day in San Francisco, so thank you very much for coming inside and spending a little time with us today. What's amazing to me is that we just introduced Cortana to the world only about a year ago, and it's been a pretty amazing year. We spent that time doubling down on our technology to make her more capable, better for the consumer. We spent a ton of time with consumers to understand what were the most important things Cortana could do. But most interestingly, I've been spending a ton of time with developers and partners to figure out how together we can create value for the customer. In fact, I've traveled around the world this year, meeting with developers just like you to talk about what Cortana can do so that together we make the customer even happier. And so today we're going to talk about the two big questions that came out of those discussions. First, we know Cortana is really rapidly evolving. What's that product going to turn into so we can figure out if it makes sense to integrate with Cortana? And second, frankly, what can Cortana do for developers and partners? What value can she provide you? And so that's what we're going to talk about today. My name is Ed Doran. I lead planning for Cortana. I'm here with my friend Ali Amani. And we're going to spend the next 60 minutes talking specifically about the questions that you've asked us. And hopefully at the end of that time, you're going to leave here with a really good understanding of the product and really useful, tangible tools you can use to integrate into Cortana. So let's see what that looks like. In the beginning, I'm going to focus on what is Cortana. Specifically, what's the vision for the product? Where is she going to go over the next couple years? And what value she creates for developers. Then I'm going to switch over to Ali, and he's going to dive straight in and talk about what are the specific things you can do today to create value with Cortana for your applications, to complete tasks, and really get to things quickly. And so that's our goal. We'll save a little bit of time at the end for some Q&A because we want this conversation to be ongoing. We think the best products come from partnerships, so we want to continue to meet with you and continue to evolve this product. So let's jump right in. I remember the first day when we started Cortana. And we sat around the table and we talked about what made a really good personal assistant. And we looked at real-world examples. And what we found, no worries. This is cool. I can do the rock star thing and stand in front of the big speaker. What we found was really great personal assistants had two key characteristics. One, they knew the client better than anybody. And two, they helped them get things done. And so we've made massive investments in personalization and task completion. Good assistants are easy to work with and easy to talk to. So we've really focused on natural language. Whether you're typing or talking, it's really easy to interact with Cortana. And as you've heard now, we're integrating Cortana into Windows 10, which means Cortana is going to be available to millions and millions and millions of users across a broad set of devices. And on those devices, she'll be able to bring you what you need across search, your device, and your personal cloud. So we've got a great start, but it's just a start. And it's the start of something really interesting. Because the way I think about it, it's not just that there's millions and millions of users. It's not just that there's more devices and they're more capable than ever. It's that how we interact with devices is changing. Right? Remember in the beginning, when we want to interact with a device, we hit a command line. Some of us still do. And then eventually, we used a mouse. And then eventually, we got other devices, and we used touch. And now we're evolving into a new way to interact with devices that's much more natural, that's much more contextual. And that's what Cortana is really about. How do we connect people with the experiences on their devices that they value most in the most natural, contextual, easy, and engaging way? And that's actually an opportunity she creates for developers. So what does that look like? If I give you a sneak peek of how we're talking about Cortana with consumers, this is just an ad we put together, give you a sense of it. The time we've spent with consumers, what they've told us is a really good personal assistant makes you feel like the hero of your own life. You can get anything done. It's all going great. And that's what Cortana is about. But when you look at those real personal assistants, they don't do it on their own, do they? They're smart, they're capable, they can get things done. But the hallmark of a great personal assistant is they have this network of experts. Your concierge can find you a great place to go to dinner because he knows which restaurant to call and who to talk to. Your personal assistant can help you get your car fixed because she knows which garage and which mechanic can get that done. Cortana's the same. She wants to know the experts that are important to the customer. And in this world, the experts are you. She wants to be able to connect the customer in the most natural and compelling way to you because you're the experts of what you do. And that's the opportunity that we want to talk about today. Now, let's look at what that looks like in Windows 10. The beautiful thing about Cortana is she's right there. I'm showing you an example from a PC. She's right on the desktop, and she's ready to greet you. At the sound of your voice, at the touch of your hand, at the click of your mouse, Cortana's there. And she's not there generically. She's there specifically for you. She knows what's going on with your life. And what we've learned is the more personalized she gets, the more engaging that she is. And that personalization also creates a new opportunity. When we talked to real personal assistants, we found that a lot of them kept notebooks on their boss. Literally, these were paper-bound notebooks where they'd write down, this is what he likes, this is what he doesn't like, this is the stuff he says he doesn't like, but he secretly likes, and they kept track of all that stuff. Well, so does Cortana. Cortana has a notebook, and in that notebook, she keeps track of the things that are important to the customer. Really big things like, hey, this is when you want to reach out and talk to him, and this is when he wants to be left alone. So you're not noise, you're not disturbing people. This is what's happening in his day. These are the sports teams he's interested in. Here's the music he likes, here's the places he likes to go, here's what's happening in his world. And consumers love that because it actually makes it much more personal. The opportunity for developers is, that means Cortana knows when to reach out to someone with the right content at the right time, on the right device, in the right way. You're cutting through the clutter and you're reaching the customer in a very natural, useful, and compelling way. So what does that look like? And I'll just show you a few examples. These are examples from Windows 10. From the far left, she can reach out proactively, right? I mean, a really good assistant wouldn't be sitting at their desk just staring off into space, right? When you saw them, they'd walk up and greet you and say, here's stuff that you need to know. Cortana's the same way. Here's what's going on with your life. She can proactively reach you. But just like a good assistant, she can turn on a dime and go get you what you need. So she can get it from the web, she can get it from your neighborhood, and display it in a really beautiful way. Cortana proactively and reactively drives an ongoing dialogue with the customer. Now, it's more than just answering questions. It's about getting things done. So she can do a broad variety of things. She can help you with your device. She can help you in your real world. This is what you need to do at this time or at this place so your life goes better. But the thing that I'm most excited about is she can connect you with those applications. She can help you with the experiences that are most important to you. Now we know, even in the early days that is right now for Cortana, she's helping consumers do 20 million high-value tasks a month. And that's only going to grow with Windows 10. Because again, you've got millions and millions and millions of users across all those devices. And so the opportunity for us today is, if you have this deeply personal digital assistant who's really easy to interact with, who's building this ongoing conversation, and she can connect consumers in the right way with your applications, how do we do it? So Allie, let's talk about how we get that done.
Thanks, Ed. How's everyone doing today? Having fun at Build? Great. So I'm super excited to be here today to talk to you about Cortana Extensibility and what you can do in Windows 10, a little bit about what's new and how you can take advantage of the new capabilities. So specifically, we're going to be talking about three big areas. Deep linking from Cortana to your app scenarios. So if you think about Cortana, she provides the product provides a very simple, intuitive, and natural way to interact with your computer for users. And so one of the areas we're investing in is to help you deep link from Cortana, leverage that experience through to your experiences. So getting the benefits of that simple, natural interface through to your apps. The second area we're going to talk about is completing tasks directly inside Cortana. So we have some really exciting announcements to share with you today, some new product capabilities and APIs to share with you today. So if you think about, as Ed was saying, that Cortana is really good at completing tasks for people, things like setting appointments, setting reminders, sending email, sending messages. We're opening up parts of that framework to allow you to integrate your tasks for your apps directly within Cortana. We're going to show you how to do that. And the third area we're going to touch on and talk about is finding information quickly. So Cortana has a vast knowledge base that's powered through public information, right? But what about when you have your own data that you want to use to help your user base get access to very quickly? We're going to talk about ways that you can connect Cortana to that private information or to your own data sets and look for that and give quick access to your users to that information. Let's talk about deep linking first. So today we're announcing voice commands for the universal Windows app platform. If you're familiar with this feature, this was something we had available on phone 8.1. We're bringing that to the universal app platform today. The SDK that you can go download right now has this capability. We have a number of samples, and at the end I'll give you some pointers and links to go download those. The idea here, for those that are not familiar with it, is that apps can effectively register for commands. They can author a certain structured command that they want users to be able to say to Cortana to have them invoked with context. And we'll look at some examples and some demos of that really quick, pretty soon. And this is available for both XAML apps and JavaScript apps. Let's take a look at the architecture real quick to give you an understanding rather than me talking about it. I think showing you visually how this works is probably the most effective. So the most important thing, the very first thing is you author a voice command definition file and you register that with Cortana. When that's registered with Cortana, that effectively becomes part of the same tasks that Cortana knows how to do out of the box. So things like calling and texting. So voice commands is something you can author that gets registered alongside all of those built-in tasks. Okay, so once your app runs and registers that VCD file, that voice command definition file with Cortana, the app goes away, and then the user says, the user is now ready to interact with Cortana. So in this case, suppose there's a sample application called AdventureWorks, which provides a capability to show you upcoming trips. So in this case, the user says, AdventureWorks, show my trip to London. So Cortana takes that statement or utterance, passes it to the Windows speech platform, which is on device, which gets routed up to the cloud, comes back to arbitrate what is the user saying. So we take advantage of the cloud and local recognition to help arbitrate what the intent of what the user said was. And so once Cortana has that information, and says, this is a voice command that's triggered for a particular application, the app gets launched or activated, essentially, with the context. So in this particular case, the context was, I want to show my trip, I want to do it with AdventureWorks, and I want to do it for the particular trip to London. We're going to look at a lot of demos today that focus on interacting with Cortana through speech. One of the things I want to call out and frame for you up front is this is very different from doing things using speech capabilities inside of your application. So when you're interacting, this talk is going to focus specifically on how you interact with Cortana. So the advantages there, the simplicity, you get the simplicity, the easy access right on the start menu. That's what we're going to talk about today. There's another talk later this afternoon which is going to talk more deeply about speechifying your application, so using the speech platform inside of your apps directly. So I want to set that context up front for you guys. Okay, so with that, let's just take a quick look at a couple quick demos. Hey, Cortana. Try this out. Give me 1 second. Start a chat with Mark Clover using Viber. Oop, it's recognized there, 1 second. Start a chat with Mark Clover using Viber.
Sure, starting a chat with Mark Clover.
Just took a second for her to catch up. So if you may have seen this during the keynote session with Joe B, what you saw here is Viber having integrated with the Cortana experience. So in this case, the context that Viber has defined is they want to allow users to get into a chat very quickly. So both a chat and video chats, in fact. So the idea there, the expectation there, is that because users have access to that capability really quickly, that they're going to be more deeply engaged with that application. So they're providing very quick access to that. And the expectation is that because they have quick access, the user base organically can grow because of this capability. So that's a pretty neat one. Let's look at a different one. Hey, Cortana, start a random game on Trivia Crack.
Starting random game.
So, I love this game. I'm not sure if you guys play it, but it's a really popular game and super fun. You may have heard Terry talk about it during the keynote as well. So, Edermax is the company that builds this game. They took their existing app, which was built in HTML5, and converted it to a Windows Universal app, and they were 4 times more effective doing so than compared to other native platforms out there. And because of that, the quickness of being able to bring it to Windows, they were able to take advantage of some of the deeper capabilities inside of Windows, like Cortana integration. So the expectation here is letting users get into the game much quicker by leveraging Cortana. Users are going to be more deeply engaged. That's a really cool way to get users quickly into a key scenario in the app. Let's look at a different one. Hey, Cortana, start a game with Travis Wilson using Trivia Crack.
Starting game with Travis Wilson.
So Travis is a friend of mine, and I just pulled up his, that I can quickly start playing with. So I'm not going to actually go in, but I just wanted to show you how quickly it was for me to interact with Cortana and get into the experience. I'm not very good at art, so I'm going to spare myself the embarrassment. So the context there that we were passing was I wanted to play a game with a very specific context, or a specific contact, and I was able to pass that to Cortana. So let's switch back and take a look at some of the definitions on how you would do that, how you would define your own voice commands. Okay. So this is an example voice command definition file. One of the most important things is, one at the top level is the command set. And so the command set, think of it as it's the container of all commands that you're going to define. So in the Trivia Crack case, you saw me execute 2 different commands. This would be the container for those 2 commands. Most important thing here is this defines the language that you're going to define the commands that it contains. So in this case, we're defining commands for the ENUS language. Next up is the app name. So this is what defines how users are going to identify your application. So the recommendation here is to use something very specific that users can remember, and that is, in fact, your app name, something directed, your brand, your app name, something that's very specific to you and your application. So you can, if you have a very long application name, like let's suppose your name is Skype for Business 2013, you can shorten that to Skype, and that's OK. But the idea is it's something that users can remember and associate with your application. The example text is something that Cortana shows in the UI to give users an idea of how they can interact with Cortana. And we'll look at what that looks like in a minute. Then we get into the really interesting stuff, the command. The command is essentially the logical unit atomic unit, really, of the specific thing or an intent. So this contains what the user can say, and there's some specific syntax for that. It also contains what Cortana can say in response to the user executing that command, and what action Cortana will perform. So in this case, you see the navigate element. That effectively is a hint to Cortana to say, I want this this command to launch my app with some context. Once you've authored the VCD, so authoring the VCD is the most important part, but once you've authored it, you register it with the voice command definition manager, and that's how you register it with Cortana alongside all the built-in tasks. And then you override your apps on activated, and effectively when a voice command comes in for your app, you get launched, your scenario gets launched, and you get passed a name value pair collection of the specific set of context that you've defined in your voice command file. So in this particular case, there's a destination, which is part of that context, and you'll be passed that destination as a name value pair. So I can have other things or other named parts of this command. In this particular case, there's just the one, but you'd be passed destination as a semantic value that you can then query against to execute that command in your app. So you may be thinking right now, okay, that's really neat, but how difficult, is it really that simple? Like how difficult is it to do this? So here's an example of a voice command file. So this was, we just talked through the command set, the app name, the example text. Let me actually quickly show you the example text and where that shows up. So if I go into Cortana's help menu right here, down at the bottom, you can see that I have a set of apps registered. So if I go into AdventureWorks, show trip to London, that's the top level command set example text. If I click in, I can see some of the very specific things I'm able to say to Cortana. So this is a hint. So if this is a way that the user can remember, or if they forget, this is how they can go in here and take a look at how they can interact with Cortana. Great. So what I want to show you is how quick and easy it is to actually author these voice commands. So let's focus on this area right here. What I want to show you is, so we looked at the listen for, and we know that we can do prefix commands where I can say AdventureWorks, show my trip to a particular destination. But we've introduced, one of the biggest pieces of feedback we've gotten is, hey, that's not the most natural way to execute a command. So we've introduced some new capabilities to be able for you to say, require app name. We have a few options here. The one that I'm going to show you right now is before or after phrase. First of all, notice that we've integrated IntelliSense to help you author these. There's a ton of help as you walk through authoring one of these inside of Visual Studio. So the one I'm going to show you right now is before or after phrase. So what this means is the app name can appear either before, so I can say AdventureWorks, show my trip to London, or I can say show my trip to London on or using or with AdventureWorks. So let's compile that and start it. There's nothing fancy about this app. It's really just a showcase or a sample app that we have that is available. You can download it, and I'll provide links afterwards. But here's my trip to London, and I have a couple others registered here. So now that I've used this command, this require before or after, let's see. Let me try the phrase. Hey, Cortana, show my trip to London using AdventureWorks.
I'm afraid I couldn't find any events called.
Sorry about that. Let me do one more thing. Hey, Cortana. Show my trip to London using AdventureWorks.
Okay, showing trip to London.
And there it is. So I was able to use the after phrase, which was pretty cool. Thank you, thank you. So there's one other really neat thing that we've done in Windows 10, which is not just the ability to say before or after, but I'm going to copy this listen for, and I'm going to actually show you a new capability in addition to this, which is the ability to say explicitly specified. So with this syntax, you can actually say where in the command or where in the utterance you want the app name to appear. So in this case, I actually want to be able to say, show my AdventureWorks trip to London. That's probably the most natural way to express that. So here's the syntax for doing that. Let me just close that. So basically, we have this, we say this is a built-in reference to the app name. And so now as part of the command, I want to I want it explicitly specified to appear at this point in the phrase. So when commands match this, this form, the app gets activated. So let's give that a try. Okay, so that's going to register the VCD. I'll close the app. Hey, Cortana, show my AdventureWorks trip to London.
Showing trip to London.
So we're pretty excited about that. Okay. One of the other things we're doing in Windows 10, or a new capability we've enabled, is the ability for Windows web apps to integrate with Cortana. So you may have heard of or seen during the keynotes about Windows web apps. So this is effectively an application that's built for the web, accessible through the browser, that you can submit through a manifest to the Windows store. Let's look at an example of that and how that can integrate with Cortana. So we've done some work to make that possible for those apps to leverage some of the native capabilities of the device. So here I have an application called Group Post. It's a sample application that lets me add notes, and I'm accessing this through the browser. So I can take notes like pick up the kids. Great, nothing special. And that gets saved. But I'm going to show you that in a Windows web app as well. Hey, Cortana, show my notes using Group Post.
Showing your notes.
And there it is, side by side. This is the Windows web application, or Windows web app, side by side with the app, the same app, in the browser. So what's interesting about this is the web, writing it as a Windows web app, we're able to leverage the capabilities of the native device that I just showed you. So I can also do something like this. Hey, Cortana, add a note, clean the garage using Group Post.
All right, adding clean the garage to Group Post.
And there you have it, both in the web app and so we're really excited about this because for people that are building Windows web apps, you already have your existing website. You already have, that you've invested a ton of time and a ton of energy into building that. So we're making it super easy for you to bring that to the Windows platform, and we're making it easy for you to leverage some of the built-in capabilities with very little effort. So let me move ahead here. Specifically, all you really need to do to enable that for your Windows web apps is to drop a VCD file on your website and to add a meta tag to the HTML that points to that VCD. When that gets pulled down, when your content from the web gets pulled down to the store, following this process, the app host will know that your VCD is applicable and will execute what you just saw. We're pretty excited about that capability. Okay, so we've talked about how you can engage your users through deep linking to your scenarios. One of the things I'm really excited to talk to you about today is completing tasks directly within Cortana. So this is a brand new capability we're introducing in Windows 10. So this includes the ability to this includes a set of APIs that control task workflow inside of the Cortana canvas. This also includes a set of UI templates you can use to complete tasks directly inside of that canvas. And this also includes APIs for a speech interactivity model. So this is what Cortana says to the user, and also what the user can say to Cortana within the context of that task, or within that context of completing that task. So this is an example showing you the types of things that you can control. So specifically, you're able to display your app icon. You're able to have speech that's said or that's uttered back, or that's spoken back to the user by Cortana. Or you're able to have a set of content tiles, which effectively are your content, your images, and a link to your application if at any point the user is more comfortable completing this task inside of your application. Let's look at some demos of that. Hey, Cortana. Tell Mark Clover I'm having a lot of fun using Viber.
I can't connect at the moment.
Ooh,
Try
issues.
again in a little bit.
Let's try that one more time. Hey, Cortana. Tell Mark Clover I'm having a lot of fun using Viber.
Okay, message Mark Clover on Viber. Sounds good.
Looks like we have some.
Did
Looks like we have some internet connectivity issues, so I'll skip showing you that one. Instead, I'll show you a different one. Create a station for Led Zeppelin on Pandora.
Looking for station. Which station do you want?
The second one?
Do you want a station for Led Zeppelin rules?
Yes.
Okay, the station is ready for you.
Thank you. And just to complete that, so now I can go into the Pandora app. And you see Led Zeppelin right at the top. So the idea there, this is an early preview of how Pandora is thinking about leveraging this capability. The idea is that by integrating a super high value task in their application directly into the Cortana experience, their users can be more effective and more productive. So they don't need to context switch when they're already in the middle of doing something. They can get that task done really quickly and get back to what they were doing. Super valuable scenario. So let me try that Viber scenario one more time just to see how it goes. Tell Mark Clover I'm having a lot of fun using Viber.
Okay, message Mark Clover on Viber. I'm having a lot of fun. Sounds good.
Yep.
Message sent.
So this is an example of how Viber has integrated a high-value task directly into the Cortana experience. I can click there, and then there it is, back in Viber. Message was sent. Let's take a look at the architecture and how we make this happen. Just like before, you're going to author a VCD file. You're going to register that directly with Cortana. That gets registered alongside all of the other tasks that Cortana knows about. When a user says, AdventureWorks, show my trip to London, but suppose in this case the AdventureWorks wants that task to be completed in the Cortana canvas. Let's look at how that happens. So when the user says that, just like before, that speech gets routed to the internal speech platform, up to the Microsoft speech platform service, and back up. Cortana determines that that's a voice command for the app, but this time, instead of activating the app in the foreground with context, it's going to communicate with a new concept, which is a voice command background service. So this is like any other background service that runs on Windows. It actually implements appmodel.background.iBackground task, and you basically implement the run method on that, and we've added a set of new APIs on top of that that you can take advantage of. Once the background service gets the command, that service can talk to that background task can communicate with its own back-end service. It can also talk with local isolated storage, and render XAML. So in the Pandora case, you saw the round trip back to the service, coming back with results that get displayed onto the canvas. And in this case, rather than launch the app, we're showing an icon and some text and some UI back in the screen, back on the canvas. OK. So I wanted to walk you through a little bit of the workflow steps and what's the anatomy of a task workflow. So you've seen kind of the few examples, you've seen the overall architecture. Let's zoom in a little bit. So suppose someone says, cancel my AdventureWorks trip. The very first stage, or the very first capability we offer through a set of APIs is the ability to disambiguate amongst a set of options, right? So if I say, cancel my AdventureWorks trip, AdventureWorks has no idea which trip you want to cancel if you have 2 of them. So she can ask. Just like you saw in the Pandora example with the list of options, the first thing you can do is disambiguate amongst a set of options. So in this case, AdventureWorks asks, which one do you want to cancel? The users can say, the Vegas Tech Conference one. The next stage in the workflow is the ability to confirm an operation. So if I'm going to cancel a trip, if you're an app and you're going to cancel a trip, you want to make pretty sure that that's exactly what the user wants to do. So this is an optional part of the workflow where you can confirm an operation. So here, Cortana says, do you want to cancel this one? Did I hear you correctly? You can say yes. And then it's the progress screen. So the progress screen is we provide the ability for the app to provide in-progress updates for an operation or a task that's ongoing. So if you have a long-running operation, something that's going to take some time, I mean, the ideal is not to leave the user waiting. So you definitely want to be thinking about the types of interactions you're trying to build, and not keep the user waiting. But in the scenario where you're sure that the task is going to continue and you're making good progress on it, you can provide updates to the user to tell them and keep them, make them feel like they're part of the workflow and they know that progress is being made. And then the final phase is the completion phase, where you display the results. We've seen a few examples of that, where you can say, this was successful. This operation completed successfully. So I wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about some of the APIs, just to give you a feel for the things that are there. This is all in the SDK that's available today. We have some great samples and some great documentation for you to take a look at as well. The core class here is voice command service connection. To request a disambiguation screen, like you just saw, there's a method to do that. The request a confirmation screen, same thing. Requesting an app launch to complete the task. So at any point during the workflow, I didn't show you this one, but at any point during the workflow, you can choose to say, I don't want to continue this in the canvas. I just want my app to be launched and let the user complete the task there. You can request Cortana to do that. You can also inform Cortana on the status of an in-progress task. And you can inform Cortana that a task completed successfully or that it failed to complete successfully. Just wanted to give you a feel for the types of things that are there. So you noticed in the previous, on the previous slide, the voice command response was a key class that gets returned to Cortana. So I wanted to spend a little bit of time giving you an idea of the types of things that, well, what that class contains and how you can use it. So the voice command response is made up of, essentially it encompasses the entire tile, or the entire canvas, and what you can control. One of the key pieces is the message. So the message that you're sending back to Cortana is effectively both the text that gets displayed to the user, that the user sees, but it also contains the speech that Cortana is going to speak back to the user. So those can be very different things. Like you don't want to keep, if it's a very long thing you want to display on the screen, you don't want Cortana to sit there speaking it out to the user, because that's going to take a long time. So you can short form the speech that Cortana speaks back. You can have a longer string, more descriptive string that you display on the canvas. The next piece is the repeat message. So we have the repeat message because sometimes, Cortana may not hear you. The speech reco may have been not at a very high confidence to know for sure that that's what the user said. So in those scenarios, we provide the ability for you to provide a repeat message. So provide a more interactive experience for the user. So it's not, Cortana's not just sitting there saying the exact same thing over and over again. And then you'll notice a list of content tiles. So the list of content tiles is effectively the core of what you can draw onto the canvas. And we'll look at that in more detail in a second. The last thing I want to talk about on the response is the app launch argument. So again, at any point, that we built this with the principle that at any point, if the user is more comfortable completing this task in the app, they can launch the app. So you provide an app launch argument that lets Cortana, or lets the user say, I want to do this in the app. User can tap, launch the application with context. So you can actually define that context. Just like we saw in the deep linking scenarios, you can provide context for what you pass. So in the case of if I was showing my trip to London or I wanted to cancel it, that link could be specific directly to my London trip. You're able to do that. Okay. So let's look at it. Let's dig in on the content tile, because this is what you're providing back, the list of content tiles to Cortana. So what's the anatomy of that? So this is made up of, each single content tile is made up of a title. It's made up of a set of optional text lines, which you can provide. It's made up of an icon, which you can show on the screen, and there's some different templates. I won't go into all the details of the various templates you can use, but they're all documented on the web. The talk we're going to have a little bit later will go into a little bit more depth on this. There's the app launch argument, so at any point if the user clicked the icon or clicked on the canvas, the app will get launched with that context, and this is how you pass that context that you want to give back to your application if the user tapped on that particular tile. So I wanted to just provide you, give a couple examples of the types of things that you might use this for. So imagine checking in. So the user says, I want to check in on my place. Looking for your profile, that's an in progress screen, a confirmation screen, followed by a success message or success screen. Different example might be changing a budget. So I say, I want to change my budget to $200 with my budget app. Confirmation, and then a final success screen. A lot of the scenarios we've looked at here are consumer focused, but I want to point out that we're building this as a platform. The scenarios that, if you're building universal Windows apps, and the scenario makes sense for your workflows, for your either institution or small business or large business, we built this as a platform. So I want you to take that away, that this is not just a consumer-focused thing. We're building this truly as a platform for you to build on. Okay, so we've talked about integrating deep linking to your scenarios from Cortana. We've talked about integrating tasks directly inside of Cortana. The next thing I want to talk about is finding information quickly with Cortana. So as you know, Cortana provides pretty effortless expression of search queries. I can type, I can use speech to interact with Cortana. Pretty simple and pretty effortless. But when you're defining things, it's a very common pattern, a very common question for people to have their own app-defined very large data sets that they need to search over. It's a very common pattern with voice commands. But it's a hard problem to solve. So imagine you're a retailer for shoes, and those shoes have colors, they have sale prices, they have different promotions you're trying to offer. How do you search that? So when a user says, I'm looking for blue shoes that are less than $200 by this particular manufacturer, how do you do that effectively and quickly? So you can build voice commands to do that. But the ability to go and search your database and return or your service and provide back results effectively and efficiently, this is such a common pattern that I wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about how you can make that real for your service or for your apps. So consider in this situation integrating your voice commands with a search backend service to provide easy, quick access across those large data stores and return ranked results that are relevant to you and your own business. When you ask Cortana a question by default, not through a voice command, she can tap into a vast array of information that's public. But what if you want to use your own small business data or data that's specific to your application? Like in the Pandora case, it was music results. So Pandora has a service, you can hit that, come back with results. But how can you do that? Is that out of the reach of most people, or how do you do it? So it turns out that Microsoft has a great answer for this. We have a service called Azure Search. And you can, Azure Search is effectively search as a service on the Azure platform. It's a first-class Azure service. And it's really simple to set up an instance. There's 4 steps to having a working search backend. Provision the service on the Azure portal, create an index for the data that you want to serve up, load the data into it, and then search it through Cortana as the front-end interface for that. There's a link there for how you can get started, and there's a free option for starting experimentation. It provides really great building blocks for great search experiences. So I wanted to show you an example of that. Hey, Cortana. Trail Finder. Find trails near me.
Searching. Here are some trails.
So what you're seeing here is what we've loaded in the Azure Search backend is the United States Geographical Survey of features within the United States. So actually, I'm sorry, for the state of California specifically in this case. This includes trails, mountains, hills, various features of geographical importance. So in this case, I'm searching for trails. And I've integrated a task directly into the canvas, which shows me trails that are near me. So I've authorized the Trail Finder app, a sample app, to access my location. So given my location, I'm able to show trails that are nearby. So we're also showing here the city in which that trail exists and the elevation. So this is what you see, this number here is the elevation. And this is all pulled from the publicly available USGS data set. If I click on that link, I'm deep linked into the app. I'm able to see a map of where that exists, where that trail is. I'm able to see the state, the county, the class of that trail, the elevation, and some other things. Let's look at a different example. Hey, Cortana. Trail Finder, find Rattlesnake Trail.
Searching. Here are some trails.
So in this case, so in the previous example, I was searching for things near me using my geographic location. In this case, I'm using a keyword to search directly into my search backend, coming back with results that are ranked, that are relevant to my experience, to my scenario, which is finding a trail. Just like before, we're showing the city and the elevation of that trail. So if I click, I can again go in, see a map, and some of the other relevant information. So this is a really powerful pattern. Leveraging this pattern, you're essentially able to quickly search and quickly use Cortana to find information against your own private data sets. Pretty interesting. And if you're interested in this, there's a talk later today, or I'm sorry, on Friday, by the Azure Search team. And I'll give a reference to that a little bit later, and you can learn more about how you set up an Azure Search instance and some of the more detailed things that you can do. Sorry about that. So I want to wrap up by talking about some of what we've talked about, and look at some very specific calls to action for what you can go do today. So give users quick and easy access to frequently accessed scenarios in your app by deep linking to them. This helps engage them more deeply in your app scenario. So think about those few scenarios that are really core to your application that you want them to get access to, and what's that context that you would pass to get them into that state. The second one is help your users be more productive by enabling them to complete your app's high-value tasks directly in Cortana. This helps them not have to context switch so frequently and so often. So again, think about those high-value tasks that you want to help them complete directly in the Cortana canvas and leverage the set of APIs we're offering today. The third one is enable your users to access important information by connecting your voice commands to a backend service that supports efficient search over your data. So I showed you the Azure Search example. That's an easy one to get set up. That's one we have at Microsoft, but you can build your own. There's a ton of other, by no means is this specific, what I showed you, to Azure Search. You can connect Cortana search terms to any search backend or any database or service that's comfortable for you, that you're familiar with, that you want to use to serve up information quickly. Cortana provides that really efficient and easy to access model right on the Windows taskbar for users to get access to information. So consider how you would help your users of your application, access that information quickly. Complete the hands-on quick start challenges while you're here. We have a couple great ones. This will give you a hands-on experience with implementing a lot of what you just saw here. And download the samples. You'll have access to this deck, but I've linked the AdventureWorks sample, which you just saw. There's also the group post Windows web app, which you can download. And the Trail Finder app, it's available for Windows Phone 8.1 Cortana, and coming soon, we're going to release that pretty soon for Windows 10. And read the docs. We have a set of great documents for walking you through these things and helping you get started. Cortana voice commands we spent a lot of time on. Speech interactions in your app. This is a topic we're going to cover in the 6:30 session right in this room a little bit later today. This is what I was referring to earlier, which is about enabling your speech inside of your applications. And then third, visit the Bing Developer Center. There's some really great features we're introducing to enable. So today, these capabilities allow your application to be served up during search results on Bing.com and deep linked into the app through search results on the web. That's a capability that we're looking to introduce during the Windows 10 timeframe to Cortana. So there's a lot of great information on that on the Bing Developer Center. And while you're here, I need to call out some of the must-see talks related to this one. So first, there's an in-depth session on what I was talking about that goes a lot more depth on the how would you build this, or some of the implementation details. And we'll also go into the details of the speech platform APIs that you can use inside of your app. That's right here at 6:30. So take a break, come back. Building with Bing. So this is a session that's going to go very deep on the app linking scenarios that I was just mentioning. This is going to talk specifically through the web, about the web, but they're going to touch on the Cortana stuff as well. So make sure that if that's an area of interest, being discovered through Cortana and how your actions in your applications can get discovered through search queries so that they can appear in Cortana, definitely take a look at that. The specific focus of when I was saying this is going to be available in the Windows 10 timeframe, there's a few segments that that this capability is going to support initially, which is music, movies, and books. So if you are, and the idea is that over time, that set of domains that this app linking concept would support is going to grow. So definitely check that out if that's of interest to you, being more discoverable through Cortana and through the web. The third one is tomorrow, Azure Search. Pablo Castro, excellent speaker, wonderful person. He is going to go super deep on the Azure Search service. Hosted web apps and the web app platform. This talk already has happened, but I've listed these talks are going to be recorded so you can access this at a later time. And finally, the all join session, which has already happened. There was an example of a Cortana integration for a home automation scenario. So that's another way that you can leverage these voice commands is for home automation scenarios. Again, this session has already happened, but you can be sure to check that out, the recorded session, to see kind of how that would work and what they've done to use all join connected with Cortana. All right, and with that, we'd love for you to evaluate this session and provide your feedback. And we're going to take Q&A, and then after the session, we're going to be heading over to the Windows Insiders Lounge, both Ed and I and other members of the team. So if you have any questions and would like some more than happy to talk and have a deeper conversation about things.
Great. Thank you.